Big Ron Shaw here, the Earl of Upsets, telling you to watch my friends, Monte and the Pharaoh, on Long Island's #1 wrestling podcast show, and soon to be the world's #1 wrestling podcast show. That is going to be a big upset.
The Monte and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
The NWA heavyweight champion, and at the time you had to be able to go 60 as a babyface or a heel as a champion. And this guy had been around, and he was polite with everybody, but I wasn't intimidated. I didn't think I was good enough to even talk to him. But when that'd be like you're breaking in baseball and you're playing baseball with Babe Ruth, and you don't want to talk to Babe Ruth because you don't feel you're worthy of him. And that's the way I felt, was because I knew I was the shits, and I never thought I would stay in the business as long as I did here, of just talking shit and doing whatever.
Drew Wilson knows how to keep us on live here. Hey, Rip, how you liking this 80-degree weather? It's $10 super chat.
This is the greatest weather we've had here today.
Opinions on Monte and the Pharaoh.
Oh yeah, I watch them on the internet a lot of times. They're really good. I like them. They have some great guests on there. I like their opinions. As a matter of fact, they're over with me. I watch them as much as I can, just as much as I watch Jimmy Cornette stuff, and that's probably the main two that I like. But then again, I like James. I like to watch James's stuff, and then God, I see the guy. I've been on his show, but I can't. The dark-haired guy, this and that. But anyway,
I've never heard of Monte and the Pharaoh.
Yeah, they're good. You can Google.
They
them.
wrestling?
Yeah, it's all about wrestling stuff.
Oh.
All right, Jimmy, welcome back. How are you, buddy?
Good.
So I'm waiting for our guest Jim Terry to sign on. I sent him the link a couple of days ago, and now he's asking for the link again. So I just sent it to him. Want to check the chat room a little bit? So we've got the whole idea here is Jim Terry to face off against the Pitbulls, who. If anyone doesn't know, Jim Terry is a private investigator, an arena football. We've had him on before, right? I think we had him on, 3 years ago? Yeah. And then I hadn't seen him for a while, and then he showed up on Lee Cole's show. And they were playing those prank calls, which I don't think you're allowed to do on at least YouTube anyway. So I think that's why he's behind the paywall. Did you ever hear any of those at all?
I can't say I have. What's your opinion on it?
Listen. It's funny. You can't. A good prank call is funny, right? I mean, but it could get a little rough. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, Terry is pretty witty, right? So he's not a non-witty guy. He's not he's smart. He's not like fucking Lee Cole. You know what I'm saying?
Jake.
I'm sorry. I'm being honest.
If you're comparing, like in your kitchen, like if you want to like cut a little loaf of bread or something, if you're comparing, the party knife favor plastic stuff, yeah, I understand your analogy there. Yeah, he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Your obsession with Lee Cole still baffles me.
No, you see, dude, I understand you think it's an obsession, but it really is not an obsession, right?
Oh,
It's
that's
just,
no good.
it's just, again, when I, evaluate, because I'm try
Right.
to do the numbers, I kind of find that.
Listen,
I didn't say obsession
is a bad thing. By the way, I didn't say that.
By the way, Lee announced on his channel. I think and again, on a serious note, I think he has cancer, right? And they've got to do an operation. So
No,
that
good.
well, no, I'm just saying it's so respectfully, no matter what goes on in this little world here, it's just prayers to Lee Cole, okay, on a serious note, right? That no one needs to do that, right? So
no, not at all.
So everybody, anybody that's in here for Jim Terry, I see a couple of people here. We got Texas Granny, Katie Company.
Hey.
Looks like Carol H. I'm sorry, Tessie. Yeah, so he's got a pretty much a good amount of people here. Barbara Buffalo, a lot of the same people. I guess you all go on the Angel Gotti show, and then we've got our regulars, RJ Hudson. RJ's in the house. Who else we got here? Breaking it down. And we also have a special guest waiting to come in too. ESO's in the house. ESO, how are you? Beth, great to see you.
What's up, Bruce?
Michael, how are you?
What up?
Lynn M, I think is from the other side. I don't recognize that name. I rarely get to go through the chats anymore since we've been out of studio, Jimmy. So it's kind of good after we fucked that up. So
you didn't fuck that up.
Well, no, I fucked up last week. I didn't go through the thing. All right, so here's Jim Terry. He's finally made it.
Is he with us?
He is here. Jim, how are you?
He's with
Guys,
us.
thank you. First of all, this is a very unique situation here, as there is a lot to be said and a lot that needs to be discussed, not only in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment, but in the world of JimTerryTV.com. Now, before we get to these marks for their own gimmicks known as the Pitbulls, all three of these guys need to realize that they're getting into deep water with sharks. This is not a place for them. These are regional guys. These are territorial guys. I'm national. The national championship in college football, the world titles in arena football. That's where the resume begins, the full scholarships. The entertainment aspect of what I do comes with the absolutely glowing personality, the all-around personality, the YouTube success, the major media outlets, the reality shows, and I'm currently pitching my fourth show to Dark Side of the Ring. But I consider this a little bit of a blessing. But today, guys, I'm sure you have heard about the illness from one of our fellow people in this industry, and it has a lot of flags flying at half-mast. A lot of people somber. A lot of shows are being cut short tonight. Are we aware of what is going on out there, ladies and gentlemen?
We are not.
Lee Cole made an announcement today that he officially has asshole cancer. Have you not seen this?
We were just talking about that before you came on.
Now, if there's one place in the world that I would believe that Lee Cole would get cancer, it is in the ass. But I can tell you that he's a good guy. And I would like to say that I'm praying for him, but I'm really praying for his early demise so that he gives me the passcodes to the channel and I can take Wrestling with the Devil to the next level and get it to where we're at here, ladies and gentlemen, today. Let me also state this. There is no other show, and I'm not trying to put you guys over or gas you up, that has the guests, that has the personality, that has the cosmetic wigs that you guys do on this program. And let me explain what I mean by that. And I do want to get my props here too and then we'll get to these mid-carders here I have a little bit of a problem coming up on a show with professional wrestlers where every match they've had for the last 15 years, you can see a basketball hoop in the background. Let's get to that, okay? But we're going to get to that. So you guys have the best guests, the most accessibility, the furthest reach. And I've been on all the big ones, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not lying about this. But I did tell you Eddie Mansfield, when we spoke off the air a few weeks ago, was an untapped bit of talent in the world of professional wrestling and podcasting. How fucking incredible is Eddie Mansfield?
So that being said, I'm going to cut you off. First of all, Jim, thank you for those kind words. So I have some bad news, and then I have some good news. Number one, the Pitbulls have decided not to partake in this show tonight. But what we are going to do is we've decided, and even listening to you, you feel that you need a real star to match up against. So at this point, Jimmy and I are going to kind of back out of the show a little bit. We're going to ask you and the person we're going to bring on, if you're going to go back and forth with each other, give each other the time so we don't have a mess, that everybody hear you guys and we're not speaking over each other. So we have found a star equal to you, Mr. Terry, and I'm going to bring him on right now. Again, as unfortunately, if people were coming to see the great new Pitbulls, they have opted not to do battle with Mr. Terry. But this gentleman has. May I introduce the legend, Eddie Mansfield. Eddie, thank you for joining us.
What the hell? You got Jim Terry on this damn show. Jim Terry, what's happening, brother? I see you got the so who are these damn guys? The Pugs, the Pitbulls? Who are these guys? I never heard of them.
They're the ECW
Can you tell
Pitbulls.
me who that is?
Where is Jim Terry? He has disappeared. You scared Jim Terry, Eddie Mansfield.
Get
I
out
hope
of
not.
here.
You have scared Jim Terry off the show.
Are you serious?
He has back.
Well,
He
you
has
know
disappeared
something?
off the show.
Eddie Mansfield is a true star.
Wow.
And I'm
There he
really
is.
good at what I do. And I just wanted to ask him a couple questions.
Well,
Where the
that's
hell
where
did
me
you
and
go?
Jimmy,
Jimbo.
me and Jimmy are going to back out of this.
Yeah, I see him.
In fact, I'm going to keep Jimmy in it. I'm going to back out.
You're going to
I
keep
ask
me
you and
in
Mr.
it? What
Terry.
are you keeping me in
I'm
it for?
going to ask you, Mr. Terry, to give each other room to talk because we do want people to be able to listen and enjoy. Gentlemen, thank you for doing this tonight. Eddie Mansfield, Jim Terry, Jimmy Pharaoh. You're on.
What?
Hey,
How
Jimbo.
did I get-
Hey, thank you for the nice compliment about Eddie Mansfield. I am pretty damn good on podcasts. And you know that
appreciate
Malvin
that,
All
yeah.
podcast I got goes to 4.5 million listeners a week. So that's not too bad. You know, for
Eddie, I
wrestling.
called these two knuckleheads about a month and a half ago, and you and I have spoken. We've never really seen each other face to face, but we've spoken on the phone quite a bit, and I've enjoyed my conversations. I've talked to everybody in the business, and I told these guys, Eddie Mansfield, Eddie Mansfield, Eddie Mansfield. You got to get this guy on. The stories, the history, the legitimacy. And I'm not just trying to put you over because I'm here with you. I think the world of you. I was prepared for a fight tonight with these two mid-card regional rejects, and to talk about the story about how the bald one called the cops on me. Yeah, he stooged me to the police, and I wanted to talk
Hey,
about
explain to me, hey Jim, who in the fuck is these pit bulls?
You know what? I asked Google, and it told me to go to Yahoo. So what
Well,
it
they
is,
seem to be more like chihuahuas than pit bulls.
Eddie, one of these guys called the cops on me. And the police, a detective out of the state of Connecticut, called me and tried to hem me up.
Well, you know they called you because you a porn PI.
There you
know,
go.
What?
a porn PI. He knows what I mean. He
All
knows
right,
what I mean.
Hold on. Disorder in the court. Hold on a second. And by the way, who's the knuckleheads? Me and Mike? That's me and James. But I gotta ask you, you know, what's the story here with the Pitbull situation anyway? You know, by the way, guys,
if the Pitbulls aren't here, if the Pitbulls aren't here, and by the way, I don't think the guy in the background, is that the guy? Is that the original guy or is that the new guy?
I don't have, you know, with the shades and the dark light in here, this is rough. But I do know for sure Gary Wolf is in the picture. It's probably a shot of him and Christopher. Now.
Yeah, and it's great that they're using pictures from 1992 because those guys haven't looked like that in quite some time. I think Clint.
Well, hell, I owned the IWF at Universal in 1992.
That was one of the bad. And we're going to get to all that, Eddie. And with a great big name like Eddie Mansfield here with the stories, and I want to pull out some stories from Eddie Mansfield that you guys haven't touched on yet that have been rumored, that are out there, some involving the Sergeant Slaughter. Now, these three guys are scary. The guy in the middle is the scariest by far. I don't know who he is, but I definitely was interested in going. Let me just wrap it up with the Pitbull. So I was due to be on the show with the Pitbulls a couple of weeks ago, and I ended up calling the Wolf guy. I've got that call on JimTerryTV.com. We pranked the shit out of him. I dealt with him on the phone. I chopped him up for 9 minutes. I spun him around. I tried to talk to him about his book. It was one of the greatest prank calls we've ever had on our platform.
Jim, let me cut you off for a second. Can I just ask you why? What is it about the prank calls that makes you do these things, man? I got to ask you that. Look, no one's going to lay judgment. I mean, look at me, for Christ's sake. And by the way, this is not a cosmetic wig, Mr. Terry. It's real. Unfortunately, yes, underneath the chat, there's a little bit of Macho Man happening, but it's all real, brother. Anyway.
I'm into it. So we have a channel, we have a platform, and we have some of the biggest names. In the last,
hey, let me ask you a question. Let me excuse me.
Yeah.
Hey, did you prank my ass with that fucking retarded little bastard?
Yes.
Oh,
did you? Oh, now you're fucked. Now you're really fucked, Jim Terry.
We had a guy that was
because you don't want Eddie Mansfield to come after your fucking ass.
Here we go.
We had a
And
guy.
let me tell you something. I will come and wreak fucking havoc on your ass. You think you're a smiley little happy ass motherfucker, but let me tell you something. You bring some little dick sucking retard motherfucker calling me on the phone. Hell, I'm a fucking star. Hey, not only am I a star in wrestling, I'm a fucking star fucking producer. And you're fucking around with them fucking Canadians who are lying up your ass and telling you that they produce shows for $10,000 a fucking pop. Hey, they had to pay me and David Schultz 10 grand, and then they had to pay that damn yacht motherfucker Cornette, who don't even have a yacht, can't drive a yacht, can't play tennis, he can't do shit but run his mouth. But hey, let me tell you, they paid him $5 grand. That's $15,000. So see what they're lying to you? I'm a damn real producer. I produce real shows. Them motherfuckers are stealing money left and right. Hey, they're stealing American money, not Canadian money. Believe me.
So, and I want to get into that, but let me just wrap the thing up with the Pitbulls, then we'll move on because I don't want to.
Yeah, I thought you had more talent than the fucking spoof people with fucking horse shit calls like that.
No,
I mean, hey, that ain't funny. It ain't nothing cool about it. That's like a jabroni fucking loser move. You know, that's a Brian fucking Knobs fat fuck move. That's what that is.
We've gotten him as
and you know what I mean by that. You know, I was on a conversation with you and Jimmy Hart and Brian Knobs. You know how many times Brian Knobs has sold the XWF tapes? God dang. I mean, he at least 10 times I know of. And, you know, then he's trying to do a deal with you. Hell, I told you, boy, you better not do a deal with that. That's fucking tarnished goods.
Eddie Mansfield is one of the most knowledgeable, over-the-top personalities in wrestling, and I think he's one of the most untapped interviews, and I'm glad that you guys have gotten him on your show. Let me just get rid of the Pitbulls here. So on our channel, we called Wolf. We pranked the shit out of him. He was twisted up. It was a great segue into me coming on the show with him and those two guys. Subsequently, I was booked on that show. I was never brought up. He cut a promo at the end, and I've waited a month and a half. Subsequently, a few days later, his tag team partner, whatever that guy's name is, that curtain jerker, went ahead and called the sheriff's department on me, and I had to speak to a detective. I wanted to know why he stooged me to the cops. But listen, it's great to know that after one show, I'm already moving up to on the card here with an Eddie Mansfield. How great, Pharaoh, is Eddie Mansfield on this program? How many times can we hear Ric Flair talk about Andre drinking beers? How great is fucking Eddie Mansfield's stories?
Well, I always look back and think about, and I did ask Eddie the first time we had the privilege of talking to him. I'm always going to think about what he could have been in the business, you know, just because, you know. And I actually, it's ironic you bring up Flair, because I had heard earlier today Flair talking about Eddie Mansfield, and he said it's not his fault. You know, even Flair himself said it's not his fault. And look at how many people have talked about what happens behind the scenes, you know. So what I remember of Eddie Mansfield is that, look, either you change the channel when you're flipping the dial and you come across wrestling, and trust me, most of the time I didn't change the channel, but certain wrestlers keep your ass on that channel. And I felt like Eddie Mansfield had that it factor. So every time we get to talk to him, it is a pleasure. But apparently, you're kind of pissing him off, James, because he's not too thrilled with the prank phone calls. Did you call Christopher Anino, the other pit bull, that day? I mean, did you prank him as well? Why would he call the police?
No.
Okay, so
That's a question I wanted to ask him here on this program.
So you're telling me that he called the police after what you did with Gary, correct?
Several days later, I believe it was. Yeah,
All
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I don't know if I'm a little bit delayed. It was several days later. That's what I wanted to ask him. I would think a guy who's got a world record for pulling a car, 6'4", 300 pounds, would not have a problem with anybody. But it's odd. It's a very odd situation. And I wanted to get to the bottom of it, but he has chose not to be here, which I can kind of expect.
Well, you know, Jim, I just want to say this. Hey, I just want to say from a guy on the outside looking in, you know, I just want to stomp your fucking nose in your face for you putting that retard on with me, because I considered you a friend. And when you did that to me, you know what you did? You crossed the line. I mean, with a friendship. Now I'll never trust you again. And I'm just telling you the truth. And I'm sure that whoever you're talking about, I don't know who the Pitbulls are. I wouldn't know them if they walked in front of me.
Well,
and
guys,
I don't really, you know, I'm sure these guys are talented, whatever. I don't know anything about them. And I'm not going to talk about somebody I do not know. But
fair enough.
But that shit don't get, you know, that don't get you over, Jim. You got too much talent. You can get over by being you. You don't need fucking retards calling guys like me up and saying you want to suck my dick. That ain't going to cut it, brother, in real life. You know, that don't make you money. That doesn't make you money. I mean, how does that make you money?
Well, we could get into the business model, but I can tell you, Eddie, since that
you ain't going to talk that shit to me, Jim. Hey, don't even start with that income bullshit. You couldn't make enough off of prank calls to make it. You couldn't even buy my bar tab. And, you know, that's a damn truth. So, you know, I'm really ashamed of you for going there. I had no idea that you were pranking people like that. You got too much talent to do that. And I always told you about you got talent. You don't need to be doing that bullshit, and stop it. I mean, that's like losers do. Are you seeking attention? Are you seeking an ass whipping? That's a quick way to get an ass whipping. I mean, I'm just telling you the truth.
Well, first of all, I haven't met anybody on a podcast that could whip my ass. Second of all,
well, you just met me. I can whip your ass.
Eddie, listen, this isn't 1983, my friend. And if it was, I'd have been sick.
Hey, Jim Terry, you ain't no tough guy.
You want,
hey,
Eddie,
Jim Terry, you ain't no tough guy. You're a fucking punter in the arena league. You ain't no tough guy. Don't even go there with me, because if I was in the same room with you, I'd slap you right now. Believe me.
Eddie, 6'3", 220, and I'm about 20 years younger than you. You'd hold my jacket and drive me to the airport. That's how I roll.
Hey, let me tell you something, baby. No. I don't drive anybody to the airport. A limo drives me to the airport.
Now you're taking it a little bit rough since you got the rib, but you couldn't take the rib. Now, what I want to know is if an Eddie Mansfield has the balls to tell the stories that he told me. Tell everybody about Sergeant Slaughter giving a blowjob in the locker room. That's the story we all want to hear.
Well, I never said that.
Well, James,
I never said that.
All right, I guess I made that up.
Yeah, you probably did, because I never said that. You got anything else, Jimbo?
Alpha and Sika, what's the story with them?
What is it about? What's the story you want to know?
So, did they have anything to do with that woman's murder?
No. No, absolutely not. That was Jimmy Snuka.
Okay. They weren't aware of it. Vince McMahon didn't make a deal that the entire
family... Well, the whole fucking territory was aware of it.
Right. Okay. I
was aware of it. I was in New York at the time, and they told me, hey, don't get involved with it.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's the honest deal. Alpha and Sika, they all were staying at the same place where the murder happened.
Right. how can a woman get murdered? They're all staying at the same place, and two of the guys that are related to him not know about it, Eddie. I thought you'd at least come straight.
Well, they're not related to him. Alpha and Seeker are no kin to him.
You know what I mean?
Right.
The whole entire thing. You and I had a conversation. I don't know how far you want to get into this. Do you remember that conversation? I mean, that's how I knew you dated the woman.
Well, it's fucking news around the world that I dated Nancy Argentino.
But you remember the story, correct, Eddie?
I mean, she was in L.A. with me for a whole
I have
year.
an audio tape of you saying something totally different. Would you change your story now?
What? Tell me what I said different.
I'm just asking, Eddie.
Alpha and Seeker, they had a great career because they didn't see anything. They wasn't there. They wasn't there. And
there was something. Was there a promise made from Vince McMahon to that entire group? I don't want to say family. That group, that as long as they kept their mouths shut, he would take care of everybody on down the line.
Well, that's what the people say, but I can't prove that. See,
right? And I thought it was a great story, and I'm not saying you were in on it or you knew any Iggy, but that's
I'm not in on any of that shit,
right?
Because I had nothing to do with it.
Pharaoh, that's part of the story I was trying to relate to you guys when you had the
and
great.
Just to let you know something, Jim, I lived with Jimmy Snuka twice, one in Dallas and one in Tulsa, and I know when Johnny Rods introduced Nancy Argentino to him in New York. I was supposed to go to New York with George
But you and
Scott.
I had a conversation about this, and there was your. I mean, if you want me to drop it, I will. But you gave me a little bit more than you're saying now, and you did say a lot about it to the Pharaoh. And see, Pharaoh, you could say Eddie Mansfield's got incredible stories. I don't want to push the envelope as to what it is here, but this guy has got a whole book of wrestling that nobody's ever heard of, and I think he might not like what we do. But I think it's a crime shame that more people don't work with Eddie Mansfield as far as wrestling. Number one, they can't afford him. I get that. And number two, I think people are scared of Eddie Mansfield. I really, really do. And I wish that would go away. And Pharaoh and Monte, I know you're not here, but I'm glad that you brought this guy up here. I never thought he would come on one of these shows. I really, really didn't. Because he is a big-time deal. He does have a producing history, and he's been successful at every level. And I'm not just trying to put him over. The guy, I'm a big fan of what he does and what he could be. But I'm glad that you at least did this, because there's so many of these podcasters, Pharaoh, that are scared of this guy because they think by bringing him up, they're selling out the other wrestlers that they're not getting on their shows anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you know what I am, though, Jim? And they can't deny, I'm Mr. Ratings. When I come on, everything gets better. And, when people, one thing they can't say, Jim, ever about Eddie Mansfield, I couldn't draw, I couldn't talk, I couldn't work, I could do it all. And it's like, they can't deny that, see? The Jim Cornettes of the world, that little ass-kissing son of a bitch. And it's like, hey, look at him, Jim. Has he ever been successful?
Jim
As
Cornette?
a booker or in wrestling? No, as a real booker or running a whole league. No,
Eddie,
he has not. He has not been successful.
No, on camera talent, he's had some success, but no, to run that, to take things to the next level. And guys like Eddie Mansfield are very difficult. But Eddie, let me ask you this, and I know you've worked in other aspects. Why aren't you in? Is there a league out there that would take a chance on an Eddie Mansfield right now and bring you in and have you run one of these shows? Couldn't you only help it, or is Eddie Mansfield too much Eddie Mansfield for these shows?
Well, it's AEW would be the smartest motherfuckers in the world to bring me in, because I would change the whole culture there and make it big time instead of small time.
Have unlimited funds. Why not, Eddie?
Well, that's what I said. If I'd have had that kind of money when I did the IWF at Universal, I'd have still been going. I'd have been making, $3 or $4 billion a year right now, without a doubt.
It'll never happen. It'll never happen in AEW.
Oh, because I'm just too good, Jimmy and Jim. It's just that, I'm really good at what I do. And I work like a crazy son of a bitch to be the best that I can be. And you can check my record.
The owner at AEW is in love with himself, so it's not going to ever happen. He needs to be the cook that ruins the kitchen.
Well, he's already run the kitchen. I mean, the kitchen Yeah, you know, when I watched their shows the other day, and I said to myself, God almighty. I mean, it's got to be old, tired ass WCW crap. I mean, it looks so bad. It looks like a bad indie show. You talk about friggin' basketball nets. They look like they're doing a poor indie show. I mean, the LED screens suck. Everything is small. I mean, when they go to their hard cameras, everything is shot so small. It's not big. And then just go take the difference in a WWE show, the way it's produced in an AEW show. WWE looks like big time, looks like money. It looks like what it should be. AEW should look the same. They got the money. Why don't they have the?
Let me ask you this, though. And I understand the production level, and you know that better than anybody. My brother is into that, and I've seen what they were able to do with the original XFL and stuff. But I would rather have an Eddie Mansfield on a VHS camcorder in the ring, and you would be able to get through to the crowd on the other side of the screen way more than LED lights and all that. Isn't the magic of what guys like you were able to do on screen? You didn't have all them camera angles and all that shit back then, and the numbers in the product was better than ever. Do we really need all the technology to make the wrestling good, or can't the wrestling? I would watch.
What you have to do today, Jim, is be up to date. So what I would do is, if I was running any league, I would train them like I did the IWF guys. I taught them how to talk. I taught them how to work on television. I taught them how to work in an arena. There's different ways. See, when you look at an AEW show, their matches are too long. They got to be concise. Boom, 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 boom. And you got to hit good angles. You got to have good characters. They got old, washed up, tired ass looking shit. And I'm just telling you, from a viewer's standpoint, and I look at that, and I pass judgment on what I see. And what I see is a washed up bunch of damn guys. They look washed up when they come down the aisle. They don't look like stars. They look like guys who are sitting in the third row. And you can't have guys who look like that in the third row in the ring. Who in the hell would ever fucking announce in my damn, you wouldn't do it in my damn league, coming down the aisle, the heavyweight champion weighing in at 178 pounds. Give me a fucking
Eddie,
break,
let me
brother.
ask you a couple of quick questions. Number one, if you had a federation, just give me quick answers on this. Would you bring back job guys?
They haven't left.
Okay. But I mean, we see main event. I mean, to watch a main event guy like you on TV against another main event guy in whatever year was few and far between, unless it was regional. You didn't get those things. So now,
days
You know, let me tell you, I'm gonna tell you
James.
something.
They're gone. They're gone.
Yeah, but I'm gonna
The
tell
old
you
days
something.
When it was a real sport,
you
sport,
can't bring back
and
job guys.
you could try,
Well,
but
yeah,
it's
you
not going to
can,
work
but
for the
it's got to
masses.
be in a different. You got to tell a different story.
You better.
And
Yep.
you know,
You better.
when I look at some of the greatest workers in the business, I want to say hello to my buddy, the Cooker. That's Bob Cook. He's being inducted into the Hall of Fame tomorrow night in Jacksonville, Florida.
There
And
it
Bob
is.
Cook, Terry Funk loved the Cooker. And the Cooker, and let me tell you something. If Terry Funk respected you as a worker, Terry Funk told me to my face, and me and Terry were really close. He named me Fast Eddie. I can tell you this. Terry said, Bob Cook throws the best right hand in the business. So what the hell does that tell you?
Oh, he's well known for it. Eddie, what is your thought on the elimination in WWE, or the serious reduction of house shows? Do the wrestlers lose their reps?
Well, no. It's really better on them as long as they don't get a pay cut. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But but when I look at certain things, the business, TKO is not Vince McMahon. I'm just telling you, they're going to run it different, and they're not. I don't think the WWE is long for the world as what you think it's going to be.
You guys see them
I
selling
think
it
the
at
wrong
some point?
people. Well,
Do you guys?
I think
do
the
you
guy
see
who
them
needs.
selling it?
Let me tell you who needs to run the WWE. It's Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman.
He's got the best. He's got the best brain in the whole. Of all the guys they got up there, he's got the best brain.
Eddie, who's cutting the checks? We can't have Paul Heyman running the finances, my friend.
But no, he won't be. He'll be told. He'll run the wrestling part.
I'm with you on the mind, James. I think they're going to be sold, James. That's my fear. They're going to sell it. What do you guys think about that, James?
I mean,
I'm telling you, who's going to try to buy it is Vince McMahon.
Really?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Lion
and he's got
King?
the money.
We're going full circle. Lion King. Wow. Okay.
Well, why
on.
not? I mean, why not? He's got the damn money.
I would love it, but that's me. I'm twisted. Go on.
You're asking me? I don't.
Sure.
I couldn't even begin to tell. I mean, I think what Eddie's saying makes a lot of sense, and I think the family's crazy enough to do it. It comes full circle. I mean, when I first saw him walk out a few years ago, and he was dressed like Walt Disney with the mustache, you knew something else was going on. It's a perpetual story. I would like to see them get back to the kind of stuff. And there's not many guys like Eddie around anymore. They don't exist. Those guys, the Kevin Sullivans, the Eddie Mansfields, those type of guys, and I'm going to leave out a whole bunch. I'll tell you another guy and I don't know that Eddie would agree. This is my own personal opinion. There was another guy, and I'd love to get Eddie's thoughts on this, was Gary Hart. I always thought
Gary. I worked with Gary a lot in Texas, and Gary had a great mind for the business, and he was good, but he sometimes he would pick the wrong guys just to kiss Von Erich's ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
But Eddie, these
it's a good
guys
thing.
are all gone. Eddie, these guys are all gone. You're one of the few guys that's still left, and people have to really look to find you. You know, you're not the easiest guy in the world to find, number one. Number two, I would think that a lot of people, when I first contacted you years ago, I would have thought a lot of people didn't think you wanted anything to do with the business at any level. You had moved on. It wasn't. A lot of people don't even know that Eddie Mansfield till the dark side of the ring, which, by the way, I thought I was going to get a little 15% cut out of that Eddie Mansfield, that big 10
Well,
grand.
you didn't book me on dark side of the ring, you little fucking dick. Nobody booked me on that. Hey, nobody booked me on that. I was in Houston, Texas, like I am right now. I'm in the Woodlands in Texas. And let me tell you something. They came to see me. And I talked to the top dog at Vice. It was Morgan Herzog, and and I know Morgan from ABC, and it's like he said, "Hey Eddie, you're a ratings guy," and I said, "Hey Morgan, I'm all about the money. I'm all about the Benjamins. I'll bring the fucking ratings, but it's kind of hard to do a show about 2020 and you got Eddie Mansfield." Eddie Mansfield is the whole fucking show, and that's just the way it is. And so when
there's a guy in the chat keeps asking a question. My phone number is public. It is below me right now. You are more than willing to call me. I do not know a story about the Pitbulls calling cops on any other state. I guess they called the cops on a promoter, this guy is saying. I don't know that story, but I'd love to hear it. You've got my number. You're more than willing to call me. I don't know. But Eddie, with guys, I mean, you'd have to do it alone. Eddie, if you had to bring in a guy, let's say you had that money and you had a network and they were going to do it, you wouldn't do it all by yourself. Who's the first guy you call?
Well, one second before you answer that. That guy's name is Mike L. Ray. He was on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, I don't know who he is. He's asking me questions, Mike L. Ray. But El Ray, I'd be careful. Ice is out there. But Eddie, who's the first guy you call if you got that gig to come in and help you with a federation? Who's left?
Oh, well, my right-hand guy would be probably the same guy I had with the IWF.
Who's that?
And that'd be Nasty Ronnie.
Okay, so you call Nasty Ronnie. Then who are the wrestlers that do you develop guys? Or do you go and cherry pick?
No, what I would do, the first two people I would hire, I would steal from the WWE. I would make Charlotte Flair the first $1 million baby in professional wrestling.
Why?
Because well, with all her ancillaries put together, she'd make me $20 million.
You're in
And
her
the other
next
one
door.
I would steal is Liv. And the other one I would steal is Liv Morgan. Then I would go cut a deal. Then I would go cut a deal with Mandy Rose to bring her back to wrestling
Eddie,
as a
where's
baby
the
face.
guys?
Yeah,
Eddie,
why?
where is
So you're heavy into the women.
Well, I'm
Gee,
getting to that. Be patient. I mean, if you want to see
trying to
nuts,
be, but
I'll give
I
them
don't
to
even
you. Just
use
hang
yet.
on a minute.
Okay.
And the first
fair
guy
enough.
I would steal from the WWE
All right.
would be Drew McIntyre.
McIntyre. Okay. Who's next?
Well, yeah, but he can draw money.
Who else you
He
have
can
in
act-
mind?
Absolutely, he can draw money, and I can't believe AEW blew the deal with CM Punk. They
That was
had
a
a
death
guy that
blow.
could draw money. Well, he just proved it.
It was a death blow. That was a death blow. AEW's death blow
Yeah.
to themselves was committing Harry Carey with the CM Punk situation. I don't give a shit whether people are supporters of AEW or not. That to me was when you finally have somebody bringing in at least 1 million views finally for you guys, and you take the side of you just the inmates are running the asylum. It was one of the stupidest decisions. Look at the money that Punk has made since he has come back to the WWE. He's actually saving them right now, which leads me to
why in the world
question-
is he? I always say this, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Why did Heyman put him in this position? Well, he would have never been in that position if he couldn't draw.
Oh, Punk always had a connection with the fans.
Yeah.
That was one of them. I've been one of them for decades now, which leads me to the question.
And he's a
Eddie,
friend of
do you-
mine, and I have a lot of respect for him.
I'm a big fan of Punk. It leads me to the question with the current regime, and as James pointed out earlier, there will never again be a Vince McMahon type or some of the promoters of the past who actually had a set of balls and did things their way, whether they were right or not. They did things their way. They didn't answer to cancel culture. Eddie, have you been canceled over the years after the 2020?
Well, I
know
was
it's a-
canceled.
know
I
it's a-
was canceled out of the wrestling business.
He invented cancel. He
Are you
invented it.
canceled?
Yeah,
Are you
I was
canceled?
canceled before it became cool. And,
Right. Are you
it's
canceled?
like,
So are you
here
still
I
canceled?
am, one of the top 10 guys in professional wrestling, and they 86 me. The motherfucker 86 me because he couldn't get the Ric Flair. I was the next guy in Georgia, so that's how he got to me. Ole Anderson, the prick.
Does it
And you
still
know
exist
something?
today?
I pissed on his grave. I told you that I was going to piss on his grave, and I did.
Mm.
Did you? Do you have that? Did you record that?
No.
Look at James.
In HD? Let me ask.
James.
And let me ask.
Hey,
you about it.
I'm not a pervert like you. I don't need to record that. I did
He
it.
would've
Hey,
filmed it. He would've-
hey,
he would've
I
filmed
did it. I did it for my own peace of mind.
I don't know how to break
Wow.
this. But he was cremated. Let me go ahead and bring this.
No,
up
but
here.
he has no. He's got a headstone.
Wait a minute.
He's working.
No,
Yeah.
he-
He's
Hey.
on his wife's mantle.
No,
Wow.
but he's cremated. He's got he's got a stone.
no.
He's got a stone, Jim.
Oh, okay.
You better check your sources, boy, because you're wrong.
Let me ask you about a guy that I'm enamored with that I think could get over
Boy,
the
you
top.
sound like you want to pull something out, but that don't work. Because I pissed on Ole Anderson's grave, believe me,
Here's the deal. I want to ask you, Eddie, about a guy and you,
in
Pharaoh,
Georgia.
about a guy that I think could get over the top heat, that I think would draw huge money. Somebody I would like to see as a villain, as a heel in any of these industries, that I think he walks through the curtain and without even a match, people are throwing shit in the ring again. What about Chris Benoit's son?
What?
He's wrestling with the name Chris
no.
Benoit Jr.
No.
Why not, Pharaoh? You're telling me that guy?
I'll tell you why not. Now, by the way, I'm a big fan of outside of the box thinking, and what you just presented to me is
Looks
absolutely
just like his dad.
okay. All right, but look at it this way.
That takes more than you doing that with your neck. You got to be able to work.
Yeah, there's so many other factors involved. Absolutely, Eddie's right, because unless he has the complete package, and man, oh man, all personal tragedies aside, that is an impossible model to live up to. Chris Benoit in the ring, we all know, was a machine. So there is that dilemma. Now,
he
if it's
even
not,
have
let me get this out. Let me get this out. If it's not received well by the public, and nowadays the slightest thing turns into what, James? You're the private investigator. You see what the masses do when they decide that something is not to their liking. You think they're going to be like, oh, wow, I'm going to buy into this? Or they're going to go, is this the way you really should be portraying the son of what happened and stuff? I'm telling you, today's internet will go absolutely nuclear ballistically against it.
Pharaoh, they had convicted rapists that were main eventing pay-per-views like Mike Tyson. I think this kid's never. Well, hold on. Let me finish now. This kid's never committed a crime. I put that kid. I'll tell you what. You want to draw numbers? You need a heel. You need a villain. It's way more interesting.
Oh, sure.
So what you do is you bring him out. You give him the name. He's begging to use the name. I don't know the kid. I would love. I mean, people are. You think they're scared of Eddie Mansfield? They won't even interview this kid. He's a nice kid. He is working his ass off. Can he wrestle? Eddie Mansfield will tell you that. You put him in a ring with Eddie Mansfield for 6 weeks, I guarantee he gets better. I would think that guys like Eddie Mansfield could get him ready. He's got over-the-top heat. You come out there, and I'll tell you what. You give him a manager that looks like his brother that was murdered, a little midget that looks like his dead brother. All of a sudden, this guy's main event any television show. And you know what you do? You get the sleeper. That's his finisher. You put that guy in the fucking. You give him the sleeper. And all of a sudden, he's main event in TV. Now, I don't know about pay-per-views. They tried to get OJ in pay-per-views if they could have gotten him and afforded it at one time. I think Chris Benoit's son is an untapped talent that a guy like Eddie Mansfield in 6 weeks could have main eventing in the ring, but his background is where it is. I'd much rather see him against CM Punk than Jake Paul.
I find it hard to believe that the masses
yeah,
will
but
buy into,
the difference is the business is with a Logan Paul. Let me tell you something. I would love to take a Logan Paul. I'd make a Logan Paul my number one baby face in my federation and put the world belt on him. And I would, I would because he's a good baby face. He looks good. He and he can talk to smack.
They hate him.
And then you bring in
all around. You pass on him all around.
They love to hate him.
Yeah, but you know something? They love to hate John Cena because of what? It's
this is the end of.
It's just a game, brother. You got to flip the switch. If I flip that switch, he makes a big save. He does the Spirit of 76 like Dusty Rhodes used to do. Bam! All of a sudden, he's the biggest baby face on the planet.
So Eddie, if he's the Batman, the good guy, who's the Joker? He's got to have a Joker. Who's his opponent?
Benoit.
Drew McIntyre.
Okay.
Those two could draw some serious money. And you need to put a manager with Drew McIntyre.
Do you bring back
an old-time manager like a Gary Hart, not like a Jimmy Hart, like a little squeaky little bitch. No, I want a guy that can get some real heat, like a Gary Hart.
Mm.
And you go and get somebody that can actually cut a promo and teach him how to cut a promo. Then you'll make money.
Eddie, what do you think about Dark Side's production? After all, you're a producer.
Oh, well, they're stealing a lot of footage. I look at things, the Dark Side of Ring, it's kind of run its course. It's, they're running out of ideas. A couple of ideas I'll give you fucking ass free, James, is this. Why don't they do a story on the Bear Man in Canada? He had the wrestling bear. He was famous as hell. Dave McKagney. I used to work for him, paid good. And the bear killed his girlfriend in his house. That's a hell of a story.
That's a good story.
Hell of a story.
Eddie,
I'm giving you some deals that you can go sell the dark side right there.
Eddie, let me throw a name at you. Let me get you a chance to catch your breath here. And it's a story that I've been looking into over the last.
Real quick, guys, just so you know, they did that. The Adrian Adonis one, they covered the Bear Man and they covered that whole situation.
Yeah, he lost a
Yeah,
finger.
but very little. There's a big story
okay.
there.
There's much more.
I'd like to know if Eddie knows him. And I was not aware of this story until about 2 weeks ago, and I've done some research. I've actually reached out to him. I found him. He is out of jail. He is in Canada. Larry Finnegan. What do we know about Larry Finnegan? Ever heard of him?
Who did he work as?
Larry Finnegan worked as Larry Finnegan. He also worked as a name later in his career from about 85 to 90 as the Crusher. He was an enhancement talent, kind of a Mario Mancini. He tagged with Barry O a lot in WWF.
Barry O was a buddy of mine. I knew Barry.
Him and Barry O worked against some of the biggest tag teams in history. He's a big guy, 6'5", 360. His career fizzled out in around 1989, 1990. He became an independent moving truck driver. He had his own van. That was it. He got a hooker in Connecticut. He was into rough sex. The hooker bit him. He ended up choking her, stabbing her 20 times in the bed of his truck, killing her. He did 12 years in jail and is now out, and he worked with everybody in the business. He now works for a fire department in Connecticut, and I've tried to reach out to him. A lot of people know him. A lot of people don't.
So he works for a fire department now?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. They hired okay.
How did he get out?
Well, you know, Jimmy, there's hope for everybody.
Oh, wait a minute, though. Wait, hold on. Wait, time out. James is the private investigator. James, how did he get out? What do you mean he got out?
So he only got 12 years. So
Why?
that's the great question. So Mario Mancini and him were trained by the same guy. I've only been working on this for about 10 days, and I can tell you that the story is insane. And when you
need to punk him, and he'll kill your ass.
Oh, we've got. You're talking about Larry Finnegan. We've tried. Well, hold on. Let me explain Larry Finnegan. Larry Finnegan, we've tried to reach out to. We know where he works. We know. I'd like to speak with him. He's never spoke publicly.
Where's he at in Connecticut?
I don't want to give his home address. I'll text it to you.
Thanks.
But what's really so he's a Canadian guy.
Oh God! Look at that puss. Look at that puss, guys.
Hey, does he have? So he's an American citizen now, right?
No. He's in Connecticut. If I said Canada, I misspoke. He's in Connecticut. Here's the deal. So he killed this woman. There was no trial. She had no family. She was 100 pounds. He was 360 during the murder.
Wow.
He strangled. He probably would have never have gotten manslaughter or anything. He would have gotten self-defense if he didn't stab her after he choked her out. So
self-defense? She's 100 pounds.
Listen,
right. Hey, what's he self-defense? And
what the hell are you talking about?
I'm reading the court records, and the state wasn't even going to press charges. So he did it in a mall parking lot, in a mall parking lot complex. So, but he had a bunch of giant matches in WWF. He was on the television show a lot. Nobody remembers him. One of the biggest bumps I've ever seen taken. He was bigger than King Kong Bundy size-wise. And he took a pile driver from Paul Orndorff on Saturday night's main event. The guy was incredibly athletic. He kills this woman. He does 12 years. I don't even think he does the full 12. He gets out. Now, some states like Massachusetts and New York, if it's been 20 years, even on a murder, they don't look into your criminal history. You can still get a state job. I had a buddy that I knew a guy that murdered somebody. He was an equipment manager for an arena football team. He ran over a guy that was cheating on with his girlfriend. 20 years later, he's working for the subway system. Some states do that. I don't know. Mario Mancini, who, despite what you think of him as a human being, is like one of the nicest guys in the world. He's really
I don't know any of these guys, so don't book me into this deal.
Consider yourself fortunate. Consider yourself fortunate. Go on.
But so Larry Finnegan is a name. The other guy that I think Dark Side of the Ring needs to look into in a story, and I want to know if Eddie Mansfield crossed paths with him, would be a guy named Gator Wolf.
Gator Wolf.
I don't know a lot of them Gator Wolf motherfuckers. No.
Gator Wolf, Native American wrestler, main evented one Saturday night's main event. He did not do the Chief Jay Strongbow war dance. He was billed as his relative. He did not do the dance after the match. He was discombobulated. He was knocked out a little bit. He didn't do the dance, and there he is. and they actually pretty much fired him. He then went on. I'm sorry.
Who did he wrestle that night, James?
I don't remember, but it's on one of the early Saturday night's main event. Hogan was the main event. They moved him to the second match. It might have been somebody like, yeah, I don't remember. It was somebody. It might have been Bob Orton or something. Bottom line is,
what's his deal? What's his deal? What is Gator Wolf's deal? Go on.
So what Gator Wolf did is he got fired from WWF. He tried some independent shit, didn't work out. I mean, to have one of your first matches in WWF and be on Saturday night's main event in a main event and be pushed. Yeah. So, and I think it was the Saturday night's main event, maybe where Hogan and Bundy
he was pushed all right, James, right out the door.
So he got a truck. He became a truck driver, and he started going around the country sexually assaulting and you're not allowed to say the R word here, but raping women all over the country. He's currently sitting in a prison in Arizona. The story is insane, but he was a main eventer in WWF, even for a small. Dark Side of the Ring wants true crime stories. They're not really interested in pure wrestling. Pure wrestling stories, 90% of the people that watch that, they want true crime with wrestling crowd mixed in. That's kind of
they got true. Hey, I just gave you two. I gave you with at that Dave McKegney. Let me tell you something. The Bear Man is one hell of a story. They haven't even touched on that.
Is he still alive?
No, he died. He's one of the greatest promoters in Canada. And plus, he had I can't think of his dog. I think his bear's name Terrible Ted or something. I'm not for sure. But anyway, but that killed his
we actually prank called the Bear 3 weeks ago on our show. Pharaoh, let me ask you this. Eddie Mansfield, will he ever get into the WWF, WWE Hall of Fame? Don't you think at some point they put him in?
No.
Why not?
Because cancel culture currently is alive and well, no matter what the current political regime says as far as the electoral result. That's why.
So Pete Rose, all these other guys, he never gets in.
That's what I was asking Eddie earlier. Are you still currently cock blocked? When in my gut and my emotional read, as far as whether it's fair or not, doesn't matter in the end game for anyone. Facts are facts, and I just feel like, unfortunately.
Yeah, Jimmy, I can get in all these Hall of Fames all over the friggin' United States.
Does it even matter to you, Eddie?
Well, yeah, it matters. Because anytime you're an athlete,
so it does. Okay.
You want to be recognized for working as hard as you did and drawing hell, I was stabbed 7 different times. They don't have that anymore. You know what I mean? No. They don't have guys that get heat like I used to get heat. And, they're scared to death to get heat. They all want to sign autographs and kiss fat women. And I didn't give a rat's ass about that. I wanted to sell. Anybody can say what they want about me. All they knew that I put a lot of asses in 18 inches all the way around.
Pharaoh, Pharaoh, at some point, Eddie Mansfield gets in the WWE. If fucking Coco Beware is there, I think.
Wow.
And you know something? You're right. Coco couldn't hold my jock.
If Miss Elizabeth isn't in it, if King Kong Bundy isn't in it, if Jody Hamilton isn't in it, these guys are all going to get in at some point. And listen, let me tell you, and I could be totally wrong, but when I look at
James, the sad thing is, why don't they get these guys in while they're living?
They never do. See Pete Rose. It doesn't even matter what sport it is.
Nah, he don't know about it, so it don't matter. You know?
Grudges are
it's like Ivan Koloff. Koloff, they did the worst thing they ever did to a guy like an Ivan Koloff. He was so true to WWF that it just makes me sick and see how they treated him. How do you think they're going to treat me? You know what I mean? If they're going to treat a former world champion like a piece of shit, how are they going to treat Eddie Mansfield?
Yeah,
I look at that.
I can personally say that, and I can vouch for it personally, that, and I think it was 2019 was the year they backdoored, the WWE backdoored Wahoo McDaniel and the late, great Bruiser Brody. They backdoored them, the families.
Well, you know where that came from.
Yeah.
The reason Wahoo and some of those guys got in and is because of this, was because of Ric Flair. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but Ric Flair's got one of the biggest hearts in the world. I'm not saying that he's like me. I am not the greatest human being that ever walked the face of the earth, and I'll never tell you that I am. But I'm damn good at what I do. And Ric Flair was great at what he did. And he loved Wahoo McDaniel. And he loved Blackjack Mulligan. And you know something? My hat's off to Rick for all, because Rick's good at pulling bullshit out of hats, man. You know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he's good at making stuff happen. And Rick's a cool dude. And he's a great friend.
How refreshing is it to hear a wrestler, a professional wrestler with Eddie's career, say that it matters to him? How many times do we see Bruno say, I don't care about the Hall of Fame. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
Jim, I don't care. Eddie, so Eddie, it does matter to you that you would like to be in that, right? I mean, this is
there. It is. There
right?
it is.
Yeah, I would. I'm honored to be in any Hall of Fame, because you know why? They at least recognize that I was talented enough to be there.
Eddie, what has to change for someone like you to finally get in the Hall of Fame? Because I do believe it's cancel culture. I do.
Well, I can tell you what, these cancel motherfuckers, I can tell you this. All you silly motherfuckers listening, here's the deal. You know, what I did for the good of the business. I made the business great. If it wasn't for Eddie Mansfield putting it on the big stage, it wouldn't be there right now. And I can guarantee you this. When you look at The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, all these others, don't you have a better picture than that? Fuck. Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, guy talks all the time, the fat guy, Bubba Dudley, Booker T, and Mickey James.
Yeah.
They did more on that LFG series than I ever did of exposing the wrestling business.
Of course. Ultimately, in the end, yes.
No, from the week one, they started. So, I mean, what I did is I shined a big spotlight on a scumbag business and made it reputable to treat the guys like stars again. They should be like every other. See, if John Stossel hadn't have fucked me, they were supposed to do a deal where $1 billion industry back then, professional wrestling was compared to Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, NHL, how they treat their players and how pro wrestling treats their athletes. Well, they never did that because John Stossel wanted to sue Vince McMahon. So that was the deal.
Eddie, did you ever keep in touch with Dr. D? As strange as the question may seem over the years, have you ever spoken to him?
I did. I used to keep in contact with David until he two-faced me on Dark Side.
Oof.
And that's when I said, fuck you. I won't ever talk to you again. I don't need you. Never needed you. You know what I mean?
I spoke about a month ago.
Wait. Can I ask a question? What did he say about you on Dark Side, Eddie?
Well, just listen.
Well, I can't listen now, so can you at least paraphrase?
I can't quote it. I'm just saying that when I heard that, I said, fuck this. I'm done with him. You know what I mean? Forever.
A month ago. I have Schultz's number. He's currently driving truck delivering cotton. He's in Tennessee.
What? Well, I know where he is. I know where he lives. I got his phone number. But why do I have no, you need to understand something. I have no need to call anybody. That unless you're on my crew or working for me, I have no, I have not. He looks like that. David looks like oh man, that's bad.
Kenny Rogers?
No, Kenny Rogers looked a lot better than he did.
Let me ask this, Eddie. Did him slapping Stossel take away the thunder a little bit of what you did? Because we all remember this. We remember what you did, but we all remember the slap. If that slap would have been on a different episode or never would have happened, would it have propelled what you did a little bit? Did you get overshadowed by him slapping that fucking guy?
I think so.
Well, yeah, they didn't complete the deal that I had with them because John Stossel went for the money, and they were never supposed to. If you read the transcript, and it's in black and white, that they were never supposed to interview Vince McMahon because I had nothing against Vince, and I still don't today. It was Ole Anderson and those rat bastards out of fucking Atlanta, Georgia. All those incested motherfuckers and you know, they were all, you know, screwing each other, and they're all, you know, full of incest.
Can I change the subject matter for 1 second there, Mr.
Yeah,
Mansfield?
go ahead.
Thank you. So, Jim, let me ask you a question, Jim Terry. You do comedy, right? And in the beginning, it got a little heated between you and Eddie. When you do these kind of prank calls and it goes crazy and you get everything that you're looking for, at any point do you feel bad?
Depends on who it's. We've gotten a lot of people that have gotten a lot of people. I like to say that we don't go after anybody who doesn't deserve it or who isn't.
You're saying that? Hey, excuse me. You're saying that I deserved it? What the fuck did I ever do to you?
I didn't prank call you, Eddie. The person that prank called you was a handicap guy, and he was very excited because he's a huge Eddie Mansfield mark. He's out of Detroit. He saw you wrestle with the Sheik. I put him on the phone. You know, he wasn't retarded. He actually has had 22 strokes. He's currently in the hospital, and he brought your name up on our show. And I said, I know this guy. He goes, no, you don't. Now, he's had 20 strokes since he was 9 years old. The only thing that kicked him out of a stroke was watching you and Eddie.
Oh, so I'm supposed to feel bad for this silly motherfucker calling me and telling me that he wants to suck my dick. Please.
There was more to the call. So what happened on that call, and it's on JimTerryTV.com, is he wanted to call Eddie Mansfield.
Oh, you used Eddie Mansfield. You used Eddie Mansfield without my permission.
Here's what I said.
You called me. No, excuse me. You used my fucking name and without my permission. With that silly motherfucker. Did you really? And you call yourself my friend. No, you call yourself my friend. I don't do that to my friends.
I said, I know this guy. He called you several times. You're leaving out the entire thing. For those of you that haven't heard it, this handicap guy called Eddie Mansfield 4 times. Eddie Mansfield, before even being pranked, picked up the phone and cursed the guy out. Now the guy was pissed off. If Eddie would have said, "Hey, what can I?"
It's Eddie Mansfield's fault. It's Eddie Mansfield's fault. James, please.
Come on, let me finish, guys. The guy
you gave the prick. Hey, you gave the prick my number, and I don't know who the prick is calling me.
The guy called.
And you know something? That's just bullshit. That's how come I don't fuck around in the wrestling business because of guys like you.
If a handicapped guy calls me, I'm probably going to give him the benefit of the doubt. You told him to fuck off. Loser, don't call.
Yeah, I did. I told him never call me again.
So then
how he got the number, I have no idea.
So I said the guy was virtually in tears, and he said, "Jim, what the fuck?" And I said,
"Get the fucking violin out, James, please."
He doesn't know. I said he doesn't know you. So in the prank, so then I called Eddie Mansfield. I said, "Eddie,
I pushed the motherfucker over in his goddamn wheelchair. How about that?"
So he goes like this. I said, "Eddie, will you talk to this guy?" Eddie goes, "Why? I'm busy." I said, "He's a big time guy. He's got a lot of money. He's putting something together." So we
you had to say big time guy. I thought I was helping you. He wasn't doing shit for me.
Eddie thought this guy had money. The guy got Eddie on the phone, and the guy got over on Eddie. Eddie's not lived it down. This guy punked him.
He didn't punk me. No, he didn't punk. Nobody punked me. I hung up on the motherfucker.
Eddie, so he got, and Eddie is. It's interesting that Eddie Mansfield got put over this handicap guy, but that's where it went. But it started out pretty innocent enough until Eddie chopped him up, and then the guy was pissed. And it's, by the way, I would play it here. It's insane. But the guy, it wasn't me that pranked him. It was me trying to put a handicapped guy who had weeks to live on the phone with Eddie Mansfield. Eddie Mansfield.
Oh, bullshit. Oh, you're going to put weeks.
Hey, hold on. There's wait a minute, hold on. Eddie, there's a lady out there, Barbara Buffalo, that says, Eddie, we thought it was funny too. Sorry. Sir.
Well, why don't you go suck his dick, Barbara?
Now, I want you guys to know that Eddie Mansfield talked to this guy because he then thought the guy had a lot of money. And that's when the guy said, I want to get you involved in a federation. Eddie said, okay, what are we talking about? Now, this guy's got a major problem. He's stroked out. He doesn't use the right side of his body. He's got a paralyzed arm. It's not only audio, it's visual. You can see this happen. I mean, I don't have a problem.
James, you can't bury Eddie Mansfield. Nice try. But it ain't gonna happen.
This guy
you know something? You can take your fucking little fucking stooge, your little fucking wheelchair victim bastard, and shove it up your ass.
This
don't
guy
mention. Hey, don't mention my name anymore, Monte.
So this guy beat you clean in the middle, Eddie.
So he didn't.
So James, let me
beats Eddie Mansfield clean in the middle.
Let me
set me up, you fucking little asshole, and that's the truth.
James, let me ask you this. Your partner, Mr. X, right?
Monte, does that answer your question? Do you think I feel bad? Do I look like I feel bad that this guy?
Well, so that's I'm asking, right? Because I'm just asking the question. So I'm going to ask you another question. You have a partner, Mr. X. He has all fun doing this type of shit. How come he won't show his face?
What do you mean he won't show his face? The guy's got a movie on Tubi right now.
He's got a mask on, right? What Mr. X, whatever the fuck. What?
So we've described it. First of all, if you look at the
Mr. X's name, what's his name?
Guys, if you're going to ask me questions, you got to let me fucking answer.
All right, good. All
right, so let me answer. So here's the deal. Mr. X, at the beginning of his show, says, you know who I am. Everybody and their mother knows who Mr. X is. And Mr. X uses the mask because he has other media that he does. He has a children's book. He has major motion pictures on television. He's selling movies to different things. Plus, it doesn't take away from what I do. He's got his mask on his show. He's a tag team partner of mine.
So, wait a minute. So let me ask you this, James, and I'm being honest here. He's wearing a mask because he's doing other social media because he knows if he was really brought out for what he's doing, he would lose all this. That's correct, right? Because he knows it's not right, right?
Everybody, that's it. The way you're framing it sounds good to people that don't like what we do, and the people that love what we do. There's far more of them. Listen, we've got a streaming platform that has been very successful in less than 2 years for a bunch of guys like us. But the reason he does that is so that he can separate the branches.
So, James, you're telling me that you charge. I'm not holding on. Fuck you. I'm telling you that, hey, you're charging $25 for fucking bullshit content.
What's that?
So you use guys like me and other guys like me on that platform without paying us, and you're going to run into a problem with that.
I don't think so. We know we have lawyers. We know exactly what we're doing.
Well, good. Well, hey, have your lawyer call me, and let's see how good. Hey, believe me, I'll hook you up with my guys, James. Because you're such a big shot.
Eddie, here is my phone number. You won't even show your face.
Well, I can't because I'm under contract.
You're not under contract. Eddie, you're a lying.
I'm under contract, you fucking pussy ass motherfucker. I am under contract.
I've got my phone number and my face, and Eddie Mansfield can't turn his camera. Who is telling you you can't turn your camera on?
Hey, network. And you wouldn't know a network because you don't have network deals. You got jabroni deals, and you're ripping off people for $25 for shit.
$29.99. Eddie, I've got an Iggy that says you won't turn the camera on because you've recently had some plastic surgery that didn't sit well. Is that the reason?
Oh, really? I'm too pretty to have plastic surgery, man.
Somebody told me you got your eyes done and there was some paralysis.
So I'll be fair on this one. Eddie and I speak often and we exchange photos. So that would be untrue, Jim.
Is he clothed in them, Monte?
What's that?
Is he clothed in the photos you exchange? I mean, what do
He is clothed. Yes, he is clothed.
What are you suggesting over there, James? And James,
Monte,
by the way,
have you heard the call?
Sorry, Pharaoh. I have not heard the call with Eddie. No, okay. I have not.
These are incredibly popular. And by the way, it's not even 3% of the thousands of hours that we do. We've got prank calls to wrestlers, which are interesting because these guys are the best at what they do. But we've got them to country western singers, political figures, retired baseball players, Heisman Trophy candidates. We've got a million of these things. The wrestlers are less than 3% of the prank calls. They're just the most interesting because it's so much out in social media. So that's how that started. It was one phone call, and it wasn't even set up to be a prank call with Eddie Mansfield. If it was, I would tell you. We were trying to put a huge fan from Detroit on the phone with him, and with Eddie's personality, it clashed because Eddie.
Hey, you're so full of shit, James. Just stop. You just stop because you're lying.
Jim, Jim Terry, to be fair,
Jim,
right?
you're lying.
The question was, do you feel bad? And Eddie felt that you like his friend. So
I thought he was my friend, but now you know who your friends are, and you know who your enemies are. And Jim's not a friend.
If you would have asked me that question a couple of weeks ago, I would have probably said, as far as this goes, maybe a little bit, because now it wasn't a setup. We were getting him on the show, and that's when the guy called him. It wasn't like I said, when I sat down with Wolf, I said, I'm going to prank this motherfucker. It wasn't like that, and I didn't even make the call.
Why?
I didn't even
wait, James. Why? You said previously that when you pick somebody that you're going to do a prank on, usually there's a good reason. What did Gary Wolf do to you? Because I know Gary personally. What did he do?
Pharaoh, the reason was we were going to go on the show together, and I don't know if you watched that show. Gary Wolf's about as entertaining as drying paint. So I figured I'd have the prank call to bring to your platform, and then we could go into this. And now the guy's scared to come on a show with me. Hey, Wolf, what's your problem? I mean, the guy with the biggest set of balls in his house is his wife. I don't know why the fuck she's not up here. She's in a Hall of Fame. He's not. So what I want to tell you is no. And now what happened was then Eddie Mansfield, who did not even realize what that prank call was about at that point, came on this show a couple of weeks ago. By the way, I told you guys to bring Eddie Mansfield up here, right? I said,
okay, so if you, so we can make this clear. So everybody, right? You recommended Eddie Mansfield. I reached out to Eddie, and Eddie can confirm that I reached out to him about a year before that.
His number.
Okay, right? I didn't have. I reached out to him on Messenger.
Right, but I gave
Eddie.
Okay.
Whatever the case is, I'm just telling you how I reached out to him.
Hey Jim, always remember this.
Calling him.
Hey Jim, you haven't done shit for me. And let me tell you something.
I know, I did it for Monte
and these guys right here, they reached out for me, and you know something. Right now, I'm in a real good position to plug a lot of things. You know, I got 3 series going on.
Yes.
I got real shit happening. I don't need the dark side. I don't need the dark side. Ain't my kind of guy. I can go to the head of Vice and talk to Vice, or a head of A&E. A head of history. I mean, I know him personally. And so it's like, I don't need that shit. I don't need to pitch shows to people who can't get them done. And that's what you're doing. So those guys that do the dark side of the ring are not going to do shit for you,
Eddie
Jimbo.
came on this show after I recommended him to you. By the way, he's not complaining that I gave his phone number out to you guys, but the handicap guy, yeah. So here's the deal.
We didn't prank him though. I mean, there's a difference, right?
But, I mean, he could. Who knows what the other guy wasn't trying to prank him either. The other guy, it turned into a prank. That's what you're not.
Oh, please, you know, Monte. If you believe that, you know, Monkey's going to fly out my ass. You know that. Believe me.
Now, but here's the thing. As far as Eddie Mansfield goes, Eddie Mansfield came on this show. And I told you a couple of stories that I didn't think were behind the paywall type stuff. And I said, you got to ask Eddie about these shows, which he verified. But when you first asked Eddie Mansfield about me, before he knew about this prank call or any of this stuff, he started pissing on me on this show. He talked about arena football and me being bullshit. So it was at that point, I said, well, wow, I didn't do anything to this guy, not that he knows of. And he's coming on here pissing on me. And you guys took the chance to call him. So I think.
James, all right. So, James, to be fair, not to interrupt, but here's the deal. I've seen you on shows where you've pissed on us, right? We're supposed to be.
Well, you have a tendency, Jimbo, to let your battleship mouth overload your rowboat ass. And you know something? It's fine. If you want to make an enemy out of me, that's good. You can do that.
How are you an enemy because a guy got over on you?
So hey, that motherfucker didn't get over on me. You did. You took advantage. You took advantage of having my number and giving it to some fucking retard faggot, and telling me one thing when it wasn't the truth. You lied. You know, you didn't need to do that, Jim. You're supposed to be a friend of mine.
Eddie,
but you wasn't a friend of mine. You know, guys, I had enough. Hey, I had enough of this motherfucker. Have a nice night.
Yeah. Guys, this is, and Eddie's a great talent. There's no doubt about it. And guys, listen, I know you guys have there's some sort of an underlying issue that you two have with me. I don't know what it is.
Jim, wait a minute, hold on. There is not an underlying issue.
Yeah, there is.
No, there isn't. Jim, okay, give me a chance. Now, you're asking, let me explain and then respond. Hold on, let me explain. You were on our show 2.5 years ago. It was a wonderful show. We had a great time. You did great, right? Hadn't seen you, really hadn't spoken to you for years. You show up on Lee Cole's show. I write you and they say, incredible job, Jim. Incredible.
No, that's not how it went. First of all, we spoke. Hold on. Let me, because I've got all my notes. What happened was I called you about 1.5 years ago, one of you guys, and I said, listen, I've got an idea for you. We've got a spirit box lady who can contact the dead, and I'd like to bring her on your show and contact dead wrestlers and see if they come through the spirit box. Do you remember that? I think you ended up taking Yeah,
I do remember that, right? And it didn't. You couldn't get me the person. I remember that, right?
You couldn't get the
There's
person.
only one spirit box in my memory. Go on.
You and I had spoken. It wasn't like I disappeared. I was on your show more than once, and it wasn't like I disappeared for 2.5 years. I pitched you some ideas. And by the way, the Dark Side of the Ring thing, I mean, I've done 3 episodes, and they've been years apart. So it wasn't like I was I'm not even on the show. I'm just a private investigator for it. So that's not entirely there. Then we start talking, and there's going to be a couple of episodes where I'm going to come up on the show. So as far as me going on Lee Cole's show, I did not know Lee Cole before you guys. Lee Cole is a very nice guy to us. He got us, he's kind of been a little bit of a bridge with Angel Gotti, and now he's going through his own stuff. So I think there's a little bit, but I was with you guys way before. I didn't even know who Lee Cole was before 6 months ago. So that timeline you're giving is entirely untrue. And I've called you with other ideas and other things, and then I've called you with other names and other people. And by the way,
Jim, hold on. I'm not denying that first of all, number one, I'm not denying that I don't like you, right? I've never said I never liked you. 2, I'm not denying that we speak, but I'm telling you, in between the first time you were on the show and us speaking was very rare for a long time. So when you showed up on Lee Cole's show, that was fine with me. That wasn't the issue. The issue is the shit that went on afterwards. I did not like that was going on.
What went on afterwards?
Right? Because there's a lot of side talking about us, right?
No. We made a phone call with Brian Knobs. And Lee Cole called me and said, hey, I got some guys emailing saying that this is illegal. And that and I says, who the fuck would call you, Lee Cole? Lee Cole wouldn't tell us until I called you and you admitted it was you. You actually backdoored me and went to Lee Cole and were telling him.
No, wait a minute. At that point, I was still talking to Lee Cole. And I said, Lee, just be careful. It's great stuff. But you got to be careful. You'll get slammed. You do like
what we do. The prank calls you like.
Listen, I said I found them very funny, okay? But I said at some points it gets a little too crazy, right? So, for example, I'm being 100% honest with you. You called me and said, hey, did Gary Wolf now, the Pitbulls were coming on our show. I did not know Gary. He's friends with Jimmy, right? Chris is also friends with Jimmy. I don't really know Chris until recently. You're like, hey, did they call you? Because there was a prank of someone representing your show, right? And I said, oh, what are you talking about? Then you revealed that you made the prank call, right? And then I said, not really cool with me with the guys before the show.
Monte, I played the call for you. You were laughing.
Yeah, no. I was not. I was at work, so I wasn't laughing. I'm like, dude, come on.
You thought it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. It's a prank call.
Don't make me look like the bad guy because
No, I'm not. No, again, I'm going to be honest. I thought it was funny, but I thought it was wrong because it was guys that I don't know and that are coming on my show.
So I should only prank guys.
I think it was.
I should only prank guys.
Hold on. Wait, time out. I didn't think it was funny at all.
Okay.
I didn't think it was funny at all.
Where have you heard?
Okay, here's the deal.
James,
Here's the deal.
Where have you heard the call?
Here's the deal. You've already told me that you have pranked Gary Wolf. I don't want to hear the call, okay? Let me tell you, let me explain the planet I live on, okay? I think you're immensely talented. I think you're great with the private investigation stuff. I think that's awesome that you're doing stuff with Dark Side of the Ring. The prank stuff, it means that you're making side cash on fucking with people. I'm not judging you. That's what you do. That's my feelings on it. I like both Pitbulls. They are both friends with mine. I don't understand why you chose them on the day that we're having an interview with them. Okay, you talk about backstabbing. All right, and I'm not looking for a fight with you. I know how intelligent you are, and I know how you process. Okay, I get you.
And Jimmy, if I could interrupt, it made us look like we gave Jim the phone number.
It was a horrible
It
day
made
for
us
me.
look
It
bad.
was a bad, James, let me explain. It was a bad day for me behind the scenes because I got phone calls. And
Tell
I was
me
like,
about
what
the
the?
call.
I'm like, I'm just saying. And I don't need to start spilling everything. The bottom line is his friends were like, what the fudge? Okay? Do I really need to paint you a dramatic National Enquirer fucking description? You get the idea. You're smart enough.
And Jim, the legitimate
You know?
question to you was this. Do you feel bad? Because you know you take it over the line, right? You get that, right? It gets over the line. It's
He's
funny,
gotta.
funny,
He's got
funny,
to.
and then it goes over the line stuff,
First of
right?
all, Pharaoh, you
smart to
haven't
not
heard
know.
the call. It wasn't like I said, I'm at your front door with a shotgun. You
No,
guys are
no,
taking this very personal.
No, I'm not thinking
taking it
that. James,
personal.
I'm not thinking that. It's the premise
I mean,
of it all.
But I want to make it clear, we don't have a problem with you. We find you very funny and very talented.
Every wrestler, well, let me just say this. Every wrestler in the industry, listen to Jim Terry. These guys are not co-signing what I do. They are not giving me phone numbers on anybody. You did not give me Gary Wolf's phone number. You did not tell me to do that. I looked into Gary Wolf. I knew I was coming on the show with him. I knew he had a book. I said, what can I do to make this interesting, not only for me, but for him? How many times are we going to talk about ECW and Rob Van Dam, who, by the way, is in a wheelchair right now?
I'll tell you what, though. It got 18,000 views. Now, listen, James, I'll meet you halfway. I understand what you're saying. At the end of the day, you were thinking about the E in entertainment. I get it. But it's like, to us, it's like, it kind of pushed the envelope a little, right, Mike?
The phone call that I had with Gary Wolf was too rough for the Pitbulls? That was too rough.
Apparently, it must have made him feel uncomfortable enough to not want to talk to you.
Strike
So there's gotta
403. Wait a minute. Strike 403 says that was a prank on Eddie. Don't lie, Jim. Come on, have some balls.
Well, Strike, if you've heard the call, it was during a live show. If it was a prank, now it turned into a massive prank. I wasn't even on the call. Here, we'll get to Eddie in a second. But guys, let me explain whether you believe it or not. I knew I was coming on that show. You did not co-sign. So I don't want any professional wrestlers in this industry thinking that these two guys are somehow pipelining me phone numbers to fuck over guys. These guys have nothing to do with it.
We appreciate that, Jim. Thank you.
who the fuck is thinking that anyway? Wait a minute. Did I miss something, Mike? I'm like
That day when that happened with Gary, I was mortified for the fact that I was like, he's coming on tonight. He's got to think we're handing out phone numbers, right?
And I want everybody to know, by the way, we've been doing this. Some of these calls that we have, these prank calls, date back 16 years. We've got a call to Booker T that was like in 2008. So some of these have been in our archives. So what I did was I saw Gary Wolf. I looked at his history. I looked at his criminal record. I looked at his wrestling history. And I said, here's a guy that can take this. This is going to be interesting because I'm not going to come up here and just be another Mark asking about of our show, the thousands and thousands of hours that are on our streaming platform on Roku, on JimTerryTV.com. About less than 3% is prank calls, and less than 5% of those 3% are to wrestlers. We've got prank calls to. I don't hear anybody being upset that we pranked Lacey Von Erich. That was way better than the Pitbulls. What I did not know is that this man was going to be so sensitive. If he was smart, we have a best-selling children's book under our platform. We have a major motion picture under our platform. If Gary Wolf was smart, he would have embraced that call, and we could have sold a lot of fucking books tonight. This is why this guy's living in a one-bedroom hovel in Spring Hill and not getting over with his book. He fucking dropped the ball. And you know why? It wasn't because of what I said. It wasn't because of what I did. In the middle of the call, he realizes it's bullshit from you guys. You know why? He didn't want to come on here because he doesn't have the chops. He can't get over. He can't beat us. And he was worried, so much so that his tag team partner called the cops. Wolf's scared. Bottom line, Wolf, you're scared. I own New Jersey. I'm in Spring Hill walking up US 19 with my shirt off. anytime, my friend. And it could be a shoot or a work. I'm 6'3", 220 with a pro football background. Wolf is getting free coffee at McDonald's. Bottom line.
So let me bring it back to Eddie before we shut
But
this
he is a
down.
good wrestler.
Let's bring it back to Eddie before we shut it down. It was clear from listening, right? Because I was just working in the background. Eddie considered you a friend, right?
I've never met Eddie Mansfield.
But you can tell in his voice he considered you a friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did.
And so how does it feel when, like, you know, you feel like you stepped over the line? Don't you feel like you should have apologized?
Great question, Monty. Great question. First of all, I think Eddie Mansfield's a hell of a lot tougher than that. Second of all, it got him over here, and you guys have now got some sort of a platform show that you're doing with him. But I'm going to tell you who I feel bad for. I feel bad for the handicap guy who had weeks to live that called Eddie Mansfield and got shit on by Eddie Mansfield. And then when he turned around and got Eddie Mansfield, now Eddie Mansfield's upset. Eddie Mansfield knew that happened that night. This isn't new to him. Eddie, listen, cut the ponytail, all right? Get out of the S10 pickup truck in Houston. You're in the big boy leagues now, okay? I'm not a YouTube guy. We are on a cable channel like you guys, and I have a lot of respect for what you guys do over here. But if the Pitbull and if Eddie Mansfield if their feelings are that hurt by that, then these guys need to get out of this industry altogether. Somewhere along the line, these guys got old. If that is too much, if Eddie Mansfield can be stabbed 20 times at work, if they can have cups of piss thrown on him, we're talking about a man, Eddie Mansfield, who I think the world of, who just told you he went to a grave of a Hall of Fame wrestler and pissed on it. And I'm the bad guy? Guys, I'll be around next year and the year after. We're on JimTerryTV.com, and we do a lot of great things. I think the world of you guys. And I like Lee Cole, too. Lee Cole is Diet Pepsi compared to what you do. It's different animals. We're not a wrestling platform. We're not a wrestling show. So if The Undertaker doesn't want to do a fucking interview with me, fuck him. I don't give a shit. We get just as big names as you guys do, but we put them in a light nobody else has ever seen. Dallas Page, we've gotten. Booker T, we've gotten. Tugboat, we've gotten. This is all Knobs. We get all these guys. Barber Beefcake. We've nailed them all, but we don't threaten them. They're getting ribbed. I've heard you guys talk about rib stories on here for hours. Now it's not good. Why? Because I did it?
No, you see, I think now you're kind of twisting it, right? I think when you bring someone on and they want to tell their story, that's what we do. We let people, like right now, think about it this way, Jim. You're on the show. We're letting you say what you want to say. We do this with everybody. We're not politically holding you down. We didn't shut you off the channel. In fact, Eddie Mansfield had enough, who I consider a good friend now, pulled off. I don't even know if he's pissed off at me for even bringing him on this show, right? But my point is this. Jimmy and I have always allowed, no matter who it is, whether it be you, Lee Cole, Scott Hall, or whoever else has been on this channel, you say what you want. We got nothing to say. We ask the questions, and that's what we're asking you. Again, we don't have a problem with you at all.
Why was I bumped from the day of the prank call? At least humor me in this, because there's a lot of people asking this in the chat. The day that I was supposed to come on with the Pitbulls, I stayed, I waited. We promoted it. I didn't come up. Did they tell you on your show that I couldn't come up? Why was I not allowed on that show?
They didn't say anything. So at that point, when we were having them on, it was I just decided at the last minute, I can't put them in this predicament because you had done what you did. I did not know you were pranking them, right?
Yeah,
so that's why I said.
Wait, now hold on, too.
Go ahead. I don't want to get. I don't want the audience to get confused here. So let Jim talk, and then you talk, Jimmy. Please.
I pranked him at 10 o'clock in the morning. The show was later that night. I ran it past you. I played the call for you, Monty. You didn't say right then and there, "Hey, asshole, that was too far." You snickered and thought it was funny. And that's the Pharaoh's never heard of it. It heard the call to my knowledge. And there was nothing. It wasn't like I said I'm in your driveway with a shotgun type stuff. I basically talked about his book. So there was 12 to 14 hours. He never called me and said, "We're pulling you off the show. You just let me go." I think those guys called you and said, "Hey man, this is some bullshit."
They didn't.
They didn't. Scared.
They didn't. I decided it was just too much in one shot because it got real serious real quick.
Why serious? Didn't get serious with me.
Well, here. Well, you know what, Mike? What's getting lost here too is that number one, as far as I go, Mike handles a lot of the heavy lifting behind the scenes. Okay. Mm-hmm. For me, it's show day. The camera goes on, I do my thing, and then I get right back to my everyday fucking life. All right. So I had no clue, James, that you were even going to be potentially involved in any of this shit. All right. So, and on top of it, these guys are my friends. Mike prepares the script in advance, and it's not just some fucking A1 tell me what to fucking do AI bullshit. We actually sit and fucking prepare shit. Okay. Sure. So we're not going to change the script for anybody, quite honestly, that day. And then I get to find out through the Pitbulls what happened. I'm just waking up, bro. I do security work. I'm tossing kids out of properties left and right. I'm tired. I got 7 animals in my house. I'm a tired man, and all of a sudden it's show day. I got to get ready for that hour that I love to do with my partner. And I got my friends are calling me, and they're not my friends. Let's not get carried away. But yeah, I'm fond of them. Monte's my friend.
Calls, Pharaoh? What were the calls? What'd they say? Hey, some douchebag pranked me. I can't sleep. I mean, what'd they say?
Right. Well, I'll tell you what.
No. Hold on. You know what the problem was, Jim? I'm sorry. I got to remember all this stuff. So you did the prank to Gary, right? And then supposedly, we'll just call it this way, there was a prank made to Chris.
Hold on. No. The next call I made.
Someone called Chris's father, and then someone called Chris.
Hold on. The next call I made was to you. The stuff that happened with Chris and the cops was days, if not a week later.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
That wasn't the time. That wasn't the time frame. That's not the way I remember it.
So let's. So again, Jim, I'm not going to argue the point because you might be right. I'm not trying to say you're wrong. Okay, yeah. I'm trying to remember what I can. All I remember is this: I get a call from you. Hey, and this is before you were even coming on the show at that point, right? You're like, hey, there was a prank made. Some guy called as your producer to Gary Wolf. I go, what? And they're like, did you have a producer called Gary Wolf? And I'm like, no. And then that's when you were like, oh, and then you played the prank.
I was booked to be on that show days before that. That's how I knew. I didn't know who the hell Gary Wolf was until you said I was going to be on a show.
So maybe you were booked before the prank, and then that's when it kind of went awray.
I wonder why.
Trying to protect his persona is that you probably told him. He probably called and said, "Hey, listen, I don't want this guy on the show." He didn't.
I'm not going to tell you that because he did not.
No,
he did not. No. And like, here's the other thing. I've told you a million times. I think you're hilarious, right? But even with the Lacey Von Erich thing, it's very funny, all the way to the point you talk about putting your finger in a V.
I don't remember that. Here's what I want to tell you.
What do you mean? Wait, you don't remember? It's in the fucking prank.
Here we go.
It's there. I heard it. And it's like, that's when it goes over the line. So my point.
No. I didn't say we talked about an angle where Lance Von Erich would do that. I didn't say I was going to say.
Okay.
You got to cut me some slack.
No. But the fact of the matter, all I'm trying to say is the prank goes too far. It goes too far. It's funny up to a point, and then it goes too far. That's where
it sounds like, since I got over on the Pitbull, it sounds like it's okay if it's people you don't really deal with or you don't know. Let me
didn't say that.
That's not true. That's not true.
Because you liked it when it was on Lee's Cole show.
I think. Go ahead.
Wait. Okay, let me clear up again.
You were a fan of it there.
No, this is Pharaoh's World. Let me clarify. I don't give two fucking flying shits about Lee Cole's channel. I don't give a shit about his story or his agenda. I don't watch him. I have no idea. Mike keeps track of a lot more of the septic tank than I do, and I'm thankful for it because, someone's got to gauge the fucking shit that's floating to the top of the pool. I don't give two fucks, bro. That's how Lee Cole is to me. So no, I've never given a crap. After the first time we had him on, I was like, okay, the pleasure's been all yours. Fuck off.
Okay, but the point of the matter is, when Jim was doing this and he was playing some of these pranks, I thought it was genius. right?
Right.
I thought
Okay.
the tugboat thing was perfectly fine, Jim. Right?
Okay.
That was very funny. It didn't go too far. Right?
What went too
I
far with Gary Wolf?
never analyzed it with you and
What
said, "Hey, Jim,
went
this is
too-
too
Tell
far."
me, educate me, Monte and the Pharaoh. Pharaoh's never heard it. Monte, you
Yeah.
only heard half the call. What went too far with Gary Wolf?
I don't think anything went too far with Gary.
No,
Wolf.
it's about the
Okay.
no. It's about
The Chris
timing of
Anino
the
thing.
call.
The Chris Anino
It's not
thing was
about
the
the call,
problem.
it's about the
The Chris
timing of
Anino
it.
thing, because you called his father
Put us in a
to
fucked
get
up
his
spot.
number. That was too far.
Where's Chris
Gary
Anino
Wolf-
at? I think Chris needs to come up here and talk for himself.
He's not here.
Yeah, he's scared.
Was Chris Anino's father called? Did someone call Christopher Anino's father?
According to the police department, I'm not going to give the town or the city in that area. Yeah, I've put something in the back chat if you want to bring this up, just to show the people what we're talking about, so they have some visual, because you can't get into this if you're not on the behind the paywall. Here is one channel. Imagine that this is Hulu. We have tons of channels. Here's all the channels on Jim Terry TV, and I'm not trying. We have a crab leg show, a kids book, a pro wrestling channel to some degree, a movie. We have XNN, which is our news station. If you go over to the hardcore pranks, which there's only about 50 of them, and there's tons of them. We've gotten Ted DiBiase. We've gotten tons of people that have nothing to do with wrestling. Here's a guy, some jobber named Q-Ball Carmichael. I don't even know if anybody's ever even heard of him. Here's where we prank the Von Erichs. A lot of the pranks that we do, guys, are not calling people at their homes. We're getting them on shows. They would have us call in to a radio show that the Von Erichs were on, and they couldn't escape us. Here is me calling. There's a Marty Jannetty prank. Here, you want to know what goes too far? The Marty Jannetty prank. I actually got on a show as Marty Jannetty, and for 45 minutes, they thought I was Marty Jannetty on the show. We didn't even get him. So it's not like if the Pitbulls are this soft, then they need to get out of the business altogether. But what I want to tell you as far as those pranks go is, if you haven't heard the whole prank, then you can't tell me it went too far. What I think happened is those guys got butthurt. I think that they're still holding on to what he was. And I don't want to say the other guy. The other guy's a little bit new. This Chris Anino seems like a nice kid. He's raising money for cancer. He's doing a lot of good things. This guy does a lot of great things. But then don't make animal balloons with one hand and throw up gang signs with the other. If he's going to wear the leather, if he's going to step into my genre, he needs to come correct. Either that or go back to working at Fuddruckers. I'm not worried about Chris Anino. So days later, somebody called Chris Anino's daddy. His daddy must have given his phone number, and I guess Chris was called, and Chris got so excited and was so butthurt, and I don't even know what the prank was about, that he called the sheriff's department and they called my office. Now, I just told you that Eddie Mansfield got nailed, and it wasn't me on the phone. So I'm not going to take credit for something I didn't do. What I can't understand is how the Pitbulls have a third member now, a new Pitbull, and he is scared to come on a show because of a prank call.
Now, Jim, to be fair, Jim, I don't think anyone out there believes that the fact that you prank Gary Wolf, but then someone else out of nowhere decided to prank Chris Anino, right? I mean, again, I wasn't there. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is, listen. I don't want this to run too long. We got to call it because I'm going to have to do so. Go ahead.
Tag teams in the history of ECW is scared to come on a platform with me. Fuck them. And you know what I'm going to do? And I read his book. I've read Pitbull. First of all, his book is incredible. It's really, really good. And I would tell him that here. And let me tell you the best part about it. I was reading it at lunch the other day, and Pharaoh, have you read it?
Not yet, no.
It's good. It's a little grimy. There's some things I would like to ask him questions on. It is a really good wrestling book where most of them are monotonous. And let me tell you the best part about it. I read it while I like to go to Taco Bell for lunch. I read it while I was at Taco Bell the other day. I had a couple of Gorditos Crunches. I kept eating those soft tacos, and I drank about 4 Dr. Peppers. It was phenomenal. I read the entire thing in one sitting. And I had to take such a wicked shit that I used the book pages to wipe my asshole. That was the best part of Gary's book. I could use it as toilet paper. Gary Wolf, get some fucking balls. Get rid of those 2 tag team guys you got. And I don't know what the problem with the other broad is with the fucking eyeballs. I'm not a hard guy to find. God bless everybody. We'll see you over on Lee Cole's show if he gets out of the asshole cancer. Thank you, guys.
Be well. Well, there you go, Jimmy Pharaoh. Jim Terry.
Yeah. It looks like I picked the wrong week to stop taking amphetamines.
Hey, look, man. Here's the deal. First of all, I want to thank.
Wait, hold on. Wait.
Good.
If you listen closely, you'll hear the circus music fading away into the distance. Go on.
I want to thank Jim Terry for coming on, and I want to thank the great Eddie Mansfield for coming on also. I thought candid conversation, fair conversation. You know, again, I'm not going to deny the fact that these prank phone calls, I only heard a few, Jimmy, because they were on Lee Cole's show. And I even wrote Lee, I think at the time, and said, this is brilliant. But I do feel the calls go a little too far, too like Howard Stern level far, right?
You can go back and forth all day long on what the line that I would like to, the optimist would believe that we all should know there's a line that you were getting at and stuff. But apparently, when James Terry likes to do what he does. You asked him if he felt bad. Obviously, he doesn't. Let's just cut to the chase.
Let me give you the facts. All right. There's definitely an audience, obviously, for what Jim Terry and Jim Terry TV do. In fact, some of their audience members are sitting on this YouTube channel right now listening. Okay. Cool. But awesome. The fact is this, and this cannot be denied. There's no doubt in my mind, listening to Eddie Mansfield, that Eddie Mansfield felt Jim Terry was his friend, and Jim Terry broke that bond.
Right.
There is a fact.
I agree with that.
There is a fact that Jim Terry knew that the Pitbulls were going to be on our show, and he decided this is a perfect time to pull a prank on the Pitbulls. Right?
It wasn't.
For us, it wasn't. You know what I mean?
It wasn't. And you know what's funny? I mean, look, my first meeting of Gary Wolf was on a flight back from an event. And Gary Wolf made sure that he got Dean Malenko, who was at this point needing a wheelchair, made sure that he got him home safely. And we were held back a full 24 hours because of a hurricane, and he took care of Dean Malenko. And I watched it because I actually, was sitting in the row in front of them. We waited for the plane together. I watched him push him through a whole airport and stuff, and he still had to take him by car once he got to a certain place in Florida and drive another bunch of hours to get Dean home. So Gary Wolf, I don't understand why you'd fuck with Gary Wolf. Gary Wolf was an ECW legend. It's my favorite company. I'm very happy that Chris is part of it now. I wasn't happy about it. Why would I be? And the timing of it, Mike, it was the right decision you made. What are you doing? We're about to have a show with them, and look at how many views.
Well, you know what? I wanted to say this to Jim too. Jim did that purposely. He did that purposely. I felt so. He talks like we have a problem with him. We don't. I don't. But I felt he was playing both sides of the fence.
It's the method.
He was doing. Like what he was doing? Putting that. Like I should have said that to him. I couldn't really get it in when I do speak to him. I will say it. I felt like he did that to us purposely, right, to put us on the spot.
I totally get why you would. And you know what I really don't get, and honestly, and I can't speak for Gary or Chris for the Pitbulls, but let me put it this way.
I just got to read this. 26% of your subs watching live, you might need this. I don't even know what the fuck. I guess he's 26% of your video subs watching live, you might need this.
Yeah, more lousy math, whatever, man.
I don't even know what that means, man. Whatever.
Yeah, it means nothing. Is what it ultimately means.
Here's a fact. Here's a fact that I told this to Terry the other day. Okay, this is the reality of it all, right? So if you're not a wrestling fan, I think I saw someone say they're not a wrestling fan. Totally get it, right? This is a wrestling show, but these other shows, right? Whatever they think they're doing or whatever the case, I'm going to say it again. The library here is people even long after we're gone will be visiting this library if they're a wrestling fan. And we're just not a YouTube channel. Again, I'm not trying to compare myself to anybody. I'm not. Yeah, right? We're doing our own thing. If Jim Terry is making $1 million, guess what? We're not. Right. So how does that affect us? Right? We could be jealous, but that's about it. Right? It doesn't really. It doesn't really matter. But I will tell you, some of the people who watch some of this shit, I can't believe what they're watching. and I'm not going to call these shows out because it doesn't make any sense, but there's some of the same people that watch Jim Terry watch these shows, and they're fucking awful. Okay. And that's just a fact.
You know, and also, you know, I can't speak for the Pitbulls themselves, but I look at it this way: just because they didn't want to come on and deal with him, you know, it's been illustrated in a long time ago. The alleged leader of Israel. No, I'm not talking to you. I got nothing to say to you. Why would I address you? You're just starting shit that ain't there.
There it is right there. That's one of the shows right there. But hey, what could I say?
What's that? Because
Don't
I can't see
even
it.
whatever. People could read. One of the worst shows I've ever. I put it on for 2 seconds. I'm like, what is this mess?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you're watching me. I'll make sure I'll never watch you. I'm sure.
But anyway, so you know, Jim was a stand-up guy.
Oh,
So
okay.
if Gary and Chris ever thought that we were involved in it, at least they know we weren't involved in it. I wish Gary and Chris would have come on. I do believe it was a mistake. I told you that earlier.
Yeah.
I said I think they made a mistake with this one because it would have been a controlled environment. You didn't see Eddie and Jim going and yelling over each
Eddie
other.
got tired and left. Eddie got tired and left. There is
Well,
that.
because the fact of the matter is, if anyone was watching, you know, Jim was trying to like cover up the fact that he was doing it. He does.
Right.
He tries to cover it. He tries to like, I didn't do it type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
and you know,
okay.
and again, own up to it, right? You set up Eddie. You should have said, hey, you know what, Eddie? I should have made him. I made a mistake. Whatever. It's all good. Listen, man. I think Jim Terry. I think what you said about Jim Terry is really the guy is a talent. He's very, very quick-witted, very smart guy, and he does something completely different than what we do, and that's all good. So, you know, we're all moving over. That's it. Anything else?
No. Hopefully, I don't have to go back into the house and take some Tums after this, but you know, I'm good.
Well, you did a good job refereeing, so that was a great
I
job.
was like, where the fuck? By the way, for the folks at home, where the fuck were you going? You left me with those two? I was like,
well,
what are
because you just,
doing?
you know what? I knew it was going to be a very back and forth, and there's no reason for me to be in it. So I was just sitting in the background, putting up
So
pictures.
you let me play in the mud pen. Gee, thanks a lot.
Well, you know, dude, you just had to referee a little bit. They, you know what, they were very good to each other. It wasn't, you know what, they might have cursed each other, they might have challenged each other, but overall, it wasn't a bad deal.
Right. Well, it wasn't in studio, thank God. We don't have any broken furniture, so
And that's all I got to say. So 2 wonderful shows. I want to thank Len Denton, the grappler, for joining us on the first show, and I want to thank Mr. Terry and the great Eddie Mansfield, who, by the way, will be announcing something shortly on this channel. Jimmy, you want to send us out, bro?
Yeah, don't forget John Nord, too. He chimed in for a
Oh,
little
yeah,
bit.
John Nord. Unbelievable. Good call, and thank you for that.
All right. You've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh as my stomach turns. And until next week. Later.
Exhausting, brother. Exhausting.
Yeah, there you go.